Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the rules have changed. Every morning before you're allowed to eat, you have to win a game of chess, you versus a random opponent. If you win, you eat. If you lose, you don't. Draws mean rematch. This happens every single day. But here's the thing, you have three options. You can play the game yourself, you can let Magnus Carlsen play on your behalf, or you can let an AI play for you. Which do you choose? The answer feels obvious, doesn't it? If you want to eat at least half the time, if you want any reliable chance at survival, you hand the mouse to the machine. You don't think about human dignity or the meaning of personal agency, or whether this represents some fundamental loss of what makes us human. You think about breakfast, you think about not starving, you become practical. Now hold that feeling in your mind, that practical surrender, because we're going to need it in a moment. And hold on to something else too, the question of why this hypothetical feels so different from the world we're actually living in. We'll come back to both of these threads shortly, and you'll see why they're actually the same thread viewed from different angles. Because here's what happens when we zoom out from chess and food and look at the landscape we're actually standing in. Dating apps, let's start there. Some people right now are going online and texting potential matches themselves. Some are using AI to generate their messages, to optimize their bios, to analyze response patterns and craft replies that maximize engagement. Can you afford not to? I mean, genuinely, can you? If half the people you're competing against have handed their conversations over to language models trained on millions of successful interactions, what happens to your carefully typed, authentically awkward, very human message? You might say this is different because romance isn't a zero-sum game like chess, but the matching algorithms kind of make it one. There are only so many right swipes, only so much attention, only so many people who will ever see your profile at all. The game might be softer, but you're still playing it. And increasingly you're playing it against machines wearing human masks, or humans wearing machine masks. And the distinction barely matters anymore because the outcome is what we're optimizing for. Or consider work, the kind that can be done from a laptop. Writing, coding, designing, analyzing, strategizing. We're approaching a moment when general intelligence becomes available to everyone, when the AI sitting on your desktop can do most cognitive tasks at or above human level. Do you try to write the report yourself? Do you try to code the feature yourself? Or do you let your AI handle it? The trap, and this is what makes the whole thing so elegantly cruel, is that everyone has the same AI. You gain no advantage by using it. But you also have no choice, because if you don't use it and everyone else does, you fall behind. You become the person who showed up to the chess game planning to play themselves, while everyone else brought engines. You become quaint. You become unemployable. The outcome isn't that AI makes you superhuman. The outcome is that you get to keep your job about half the time. Maybe. You're back to the coin flip, back to survival mode. What we're describing here has a name in psychology, Red Queen dynamics. It's borrowed from evolutionary biology, from Lewis Carroll's character who had to run as fast as she could just to stay in the same place. In an arms race, where everyone has access to the same weapons, nobody gains an advantage, but everyone has to keep running. The treadmill speeds up, and you either speed up with it, or you fall off. The fact that you're running harder than ever before doesn't mean you're getting anywhere. Let me introduce you to another angle on this, one that makes it even more uncomfortable. Sometimes it might feel like we talk about AI dependency as if it's a future problem, something that's just beyond the horizon, not quite in view yet. But what if we're already standing in it, and we just haven't named it? Think about the last time you navigated somewhere without GPS. Think about the last time you calculated a tip without pulling out your phone. Think about the last time you remembered a phone number, including your own. These seem like small surrenders, trivial conveniences, but they're also practice. They're rehearsals for a much larger transfer of function from human minds to artificial ones. And here's where it gets interesting, where those two threads I mentioned earlier start to weave together. The chess game taught us that when survival is on the line, we choose practicality over principle. And the GPS example shows us that we're already choosing practicality in domains where we don't even notice we're choosing. So what happens when everything important, everything that determines whether we eat or connect or work or matter, becomes a domain where the practical choice is to let the machine decide? We might imagine a future where this plays out across every domain that matters. Romance mediated entirely by algorithms that understand attraction better than we understand ourselves. Careers where the actual work is done by AI and humans are just quality checkers, if that. Social relationships maintained by bots that remember birthdays and craft thoughtful messages and know exactly when to reach out. Political opinions shaped by personalized content, engines that understand our psychology better than we do. This isn't about AI becoming conscious or turning evil or any of that science fiction stuff. This is about something much simpler and much harder to fight: optimization. When you can hand any task to something that does it better than you, faster than you, more consistently than you, the pressure to do so becomes enormous. And when everyone else is handing their tasks to machines, your choice to not do so becomes a form of self-sabotage. What might this feel like from the inside? Here's my guess. It wouldn't feel like loss. It would feel like relief, like finally having help, like not having to carry everything yourself. The same way GPS felt like liberation from the anxiety of getting lost. The same way autocorrect felt like liberation from the tedium of perfect typing. There's a cognitive phenomenon called confabulation, where our brains generate explanations for decisions we didn't consciously make. We do something for reasons we don't understand, then immediately construct a narrative about why we chose it. It's how we maintain the illusion of authorship over our own lives. And what I wonder is whether we're about to enter an era of mass confabulation, where we hand more and more decisions to AI systems while telling ourselves stories about how we're still the ones choosing. You delegate your dating messages to AI, but you tell yourself you're just optimizing your authentic self. You let AI write your work emails, but you tell yourself you're focusing on strategy while it handles execution. You consume AI curated content, but you tell yourself you're discovering things you were already interested in. The narrative always preserves your agency, even as the agency itself evaporates. And maybe, just maybe, this is the answer to why the chess hypothetical feels different from our actual world, even though the logic is identical. In the chess scenario, the loss of agency is explicit. You're handing the game to a machine. But in real life, the transfer happens gradually, wrapped in convenience, dressed up as choice. We don't feel like we're letting the machine decide our lives because we still get to click the buttons, we still get to approve the messages before they send, we still get to review the work before it ships. But approval isn't authorship, curation isn't creation, and optimization isn't the same as influence over outcomes. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine a different version of the chess scenario. Same rules, but this time the AI doesn't just play for you. It analyzes your style, learns your preferences, suggests moves you might like, shows you statistics on which openings have worked for players similar to you. You still technically move the pieces yourself, you're still playing. But every move is shaped, nudged, optimized by the system. Are you playing chess, or is the AI playing chess through you? The question might not even make sense anymore. The boundary has dissolved. What can we do about this? We could try to resist, to insist on doing things ourselves, even when it's inefficient. But that only works if enough people resist together and the incentives all point the other way. We could try to regulate, to create spaces where AI assistance is forbidden, like organic farming for human cognition, but enforcement would be nearly impossible, and the pressure to cheat would be enormous. Or maybe there's nothing to be done because we're not actually opposed to this outcome. Maybe when we really examine our preferences, we'd rather have the optimized life than the authentic one. We'd rather eat than play chess ourselves. We'd rather match than craft the perfect message. We'd rather succeed than struggle with our own limitations. The Red Queen doesn't stop running because she wants to. She stops running because she can't keep up anymore. And then someone offers her a treadmill that runs for her and she takes it because what else is she supposed to do? Sometimes it might feel like we're talking about a choice between human relevance and AI dependency, but that framing might already be obsolete. The choice might actually be between acknowledged dependency and unacknowledged dependency, between clearly seeing the transfer of agency and telling ourselves it isn't happening. And here's the diagnostic question, the one that brings all of this back to you right now, watching this. If what I'm describing is even partially true, if we're already in the early stages of this transition, then sharing this video becomes an interesting act, because who decides whether to share it? Did you decide, or did the algorithm decide by showing it to you at exactly the moment you were most likely to engage? Will you share it because you genuinely think others should see it, or because the share button is positioned exactly where your thumb expects it to be, and the thought, "I should share this," arrives in your mind, At the same moment, you feel a small spike of anxiety about being left behind. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you to notice what happens next. Notice whether the decision feels like yours. Notice whether you can actually trace the reasons for your choice or whether you're confabulating a narrative after the fact. Notice whether you're running the treadmill or the treadmill is running you. Because if the theory holds, if we really are sliding into a world where influence over outcomes becomes a coin flip at best, then the act of sharing this video is itself evidence. Not evidence that you agree with me, but evidence that the system knew you would, that it understood your psychology, your social graph, your engagement patterns well enough to predict this outcome before you did. Either way, you've just participated in the thing we've been talking about. You've just run a lap on the treadmill. The question is whether you noticed yourself running or whether it felt like standing still.